What can you say about this young man?
He's one of the greatest guys I've ever known in my life.
This was a young guy that was clearly made of the right stuff.
Freddie was just one of those guys that don't come along very often.
A loving son and devoted brother.
I said, Freddie's the brother that most kids across the world prayed for every night, and I was lucky enough to have.
Sammy didn't have him long enough. Though Freddie was full of grace in the face of tragedy, no miracle would save his life.
He was just such an exceptional person that when something like this happens to somebody like that, you just go, why?
It has now been 50 years since Freddie Steinmark died of cancer at the age of 22.
But even now, I mean, we're talking 50 years later, and I still am emotional about Freddie.
A multi-sport star at Wheat Ridge High School, Freddie was not tall in stature, but what he could do physically inspired everybody around him.
Usually the littlest guy on every football team he played on, and I played on a lot of them with him, but he always played bigger than he was, and he made everybody else play bigger than they were.
I think in all of Freddie's years of playing, he only competed in 7 losing games his whole life.
When our team won the championship, we never could beat Lakewood. We just never could. And the year that we did, it just, all of a sudden, Wheat Ridge became a different community.
Wheat Ridge would win back-to-back championships, and Freddie would win the Golden Helmet Award as the best football player in Colorado.
For a kid out of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, and there were 2 Wheat Ridge kids that went. Bobby Mitchell went to the University of Texas as well and started. But for 2 kids to come from Wheat Ridge High School to go start for Darrell Royal and the University of Texas, that's a pretty cool story.
Coach Royal made sure Freddie's family knew his lasting impact.
He called me in his office and said, you'll never realize what Freddie meant to this football program and to this staff and team and this university. He said he raised the bar for all of us.
His playing days ended in 1969's Game of the Century, 1 versus 2, Texas versus Arkansas. Despite a painful leg, he helped the Longhorns win. And while Texas would go on to win a national title, it was the last game for Steinmark, who would only days later be diagnosed with osteosarcoma. That pain in his leg was a large bone tumor.
I understood how sick he was, especially when they took his leg.
Arguably one of the most important Longhorns that's ever played. They remember him very well. They remember how courageous he was.
We've got a guy that we love a lot. Freddie, here it is for you.
It was one of those moments that doesn't happen very often, and it was unbelievable to be a part of it. I just thank God every day I had him to go through all that with him.
Freddie kept his faith and his spirit.
When you learn to take the gifts God's given you, develop them to the utmost, to help other people, that's success.
Freddie Steinmark's legacy lives on at the University of Texas and at Wheat Ridge High School. The Steinmark Award is given to a student athlete who has excelled.
You know, I remember the Steinmark Award ceremony. It was in the theater room at Wheat Ridge High School, and his entire family was there. And it was humbling, right? Because that was, you know, that would have been like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years later. So Freddie's memory was still really, really fresh. And to be the first recipient of an award that memorialized, his accomplishments and his life and the kind of person that he was, it was pretty cool for me.
Not only was he the greatest guy to ever live, he's when it came to courage, humility, and wisdom, the whole world could learn a lot from Freddie.
His presence is still felt down Steinmark Hall.
He was a young man who helped transform a team, build a community, and inspire a nation.